Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode on Young Race Predictor, where today we are going to be talking about the wonders and the moments of the Hungarian Grand Prix that had taken place last weekend, the final race before summer break. And before we dive right in, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with all your friends and all the Formula 1 fans we know. With that being said, let's jump right into the first moment of this entire weekend, where I'm going to express the reason behind my voice, the depression of what just happened during the race day. So this is the first moment of the weekend. Of course, we have to point out Leclerc to speed. A session which seemed where Ferrari continued to remain as a midfield team, possibly only like P5 or P6 at best, with Charles Leclerc one of his best laps being put, turns out to be even better than what we had expected. Qualifying went only decent, practice were good enough, but the final round of qualifying kind of shocked the whole world and put everyone at their feet, because whether you were a Ferrari fan like me or not, Charles Leclerc snatched pole position from the two McLarens in the Hungarian Grand Prix. It was a beautiful lap from Charles Leclerc. From the middle of nowhere, he just aced one at the second sector, I believe, and the final corner, when he managed to ace it so well, he came across the checkered flag and he was fastest overall. So it was quite a very shocking instance, not just for us, but even for the man himself. But what a qualifying that was from Charles Leclerc, from the middle of nowhere, because it was a qualifying where it seemed the guys who were in the back markers, so VCARB, Aston Martin, of course Gabriel Bortoleto, you have to admit he is doing a really good job. But Max Verstappen was one of the slow ones as well this weekend. So when Aston Martin is performing, VCARB is performing, and midfield teams are slowly going down to the bottom list, and from the middle of nowhere, the only man who can out-qualify and beat the two McLarens is Charles Leclerc. You have to admit, it's a very big moment, not just for any Ferrari fan, but for all those who were watching this entire season, wanting to find another person who was ready to dominate at least one of the most important sessions of a Grand Prix weekend above the two McLarens. And in this case, it was Charles Leclerc. So indeed, that pole position was a very, very big deal, and Leclerc gone to speed was such a big deal, and everybody was so happy, including me. And I was so happy that I was ready to cheer for this one man as a die-hard Ferrari fan, as I have been for the last 8 years. So this is moment number one of this weekend. Moment number two, quali gone crazy. One of the points that I point out in the previous section was not the fact that Leclerc was the only man who outqualified the two McLarens, but also the fact that the back markers managed to start putting laps that caught them in the front. If you look at it more closely in this Q3 classification, here are the important takeaways from Q3, which kind of none of us expected in a normal qualifying weekend in the 2025 season. Qualifying itself is so unpredictable this season that in this qualifying Q3 itself, you can see the top four were qualified within only half a tenth. George Russell was fourth fastest, and he put a lap just 500 slower than Charles Leclerc, just half a tenth of a difference. The top four was within that gap, so it's unbelievable. That first point. The second one, the two Astons, of course, in the third row, which was a big deal because the Aston Martin, where Alonso seemed to be performing in qualifying, Stroll sometimes who used to be performing, they now both of them sealed the third row. So that was also a big deal. The third one was, of course, the man Gabriel Bortoleto beating Verstappen, and Verstappen's 200 race, of course, not something that you would like to remember with Red Bull. I mean, it was a little bit of a disappointment indeed, seeing that he lost just by 3,000ths of a second to Gabriel Bortoleto. But yeah, that was also a very good, important point to notice. And of course, the two VCARBs as well making it into Q3. I mean, it's not as big as a deal as two Astons in the third row, but you see what I mean. It was quite a bit of a different qualifying altogether. So definitely, this was a very important point to notice in the qualifying, and hence this is moment number two of this weekend. Moment number three, one stop to one win. Yes, it was another McLaren win, and it was one that went in the way of Lando Norris, which I will say I'm not entirely disappointed with, because Lando Norris had pulled off a one-stop strategy here. In the end of the 30th lap, I think he went to the pits from mediums to hards, and Ever since then, the idea of a two-stop was there, but Norris just did not try to argue or do anything. He just had a race on his own, and when Piastri just came right behind him, that 69th lap, we were on our feet when he almost crashed onto Lando Norris. They still fought until the very end, but it was a one-stop madness that was just being executed to perfection by Lando Norris, who went on to get a payback for what happened last season here in Hungary. And of course the trophy celebration as well was quite funny as well. But this was a very important moment to point out. Lando Norris proving the one stop was possible in a insanely fast car here in Hungary, and therefore this was moment number 3 of this weekend. Now let's jump into the wonders of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And of course, wonder number 1, I know he may not have done a fantastic job in the race, but he definitely deserves a round of applause for all the good work that he tried to put in this weekend. Charles Leclerc, who went on to get pole position in the Hungarian Grand Prix at times when we didn't even expect it or see it to be happening. He just put in a lap of a lifetime, and he managed to get that P1. He was running in P1 for the first half of the race, and then a little problem in the car and the problem in the tires. I don't know what happened, but after that pit stop, it just seems so uh, a bit of a downfall for Charles Leclerc. Of course, he earned that 5-second penalty due to some dangerous driving on George Russell as well. So yeah, that was a little bit disappointing, but he, in my opinion, is indeed a wonder of this weekend. Wonder number 2, Gabriel Bortoleto, the best man of the Hungarian Grand Prix. He qualified, I believe, 7th in qualifying, and he went on to get a career best P6, the car number 5. What a beautiful job from Gabriel Bortoleto. He just sticked behind Fernando Alonso, and of course Alonso coming home P5 was a big deal, and he was just behind him, and he didn't face any problem passing. He didn't have any problem in not passing him. He didn't have any problem in losing any positions. Bortoleto was just there. He was doing a good job, had a very good race, and P6 was the result. It was a fantastic job from that Kick Sauber. Of course, the rookie doing a beautiful race. Therefore, he is indeed a wonder of this weekend. Wonder number 3, yes, it's a McLaren. Lando Norris, the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Yes, he is indeed the wonder. He managed to pull off the one-stop strategy here in Hungary, and thus he is a very important wonder of this weekend. The wonder team, we have to point them out. They did a very good job. Aston Martin, what a race it was. At one point, it seemed like they were going to do the 2023 performance altogether. Fernando Alonso qualifying P5, Lance Stroll P6. The finishing results were Fernando Alonso P5 and Lance Stroll P7. And if you look at it more closely, the top 4 seem to be like the front runners, and after that, Alonso was just having the entire pack in the back. So it was a fantastic race from Aston Martin, whom I believe should be given the wonder team of this weekend. So there we have it. As the current championship standing is Esteban Ocon with 27 points, Nico Hülkenberg with 37. Ocon is just ahead of the 2 Aston Martins and Isaac Hadjar, who are also closing up to him for that P10 spot. Albon with 54 points. Antonelli managed to get that 1 point with the P10 here. He's at 64. Hamilton with 109 points. It was not a very good weekend at all for Lewis Hamilton, and I'm pretty sure that next race onwards he'll be able to put up a very good race for sure. Hamilton with 109, Charles Leclerc with the 151, George Russell getting his first podium after Canada with 172 points, Max Verstappen with 187, Lando Norris with that win now reducing his gap to 9 points with Oscar Piastri, who leads the World Championship with 284. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this with all your friends and all the Formula fans. And see you next time for the next video, where we talk about the midsummer season report for of the top 10 drivers of the mid-season. But until then, tuning in next time. Goodbye.